Good morning, and thank you for taking a few hours out of your workday to join us. My name is Anne-Marie Hinton, and I'm Vice President of Albuquerque Economic Development, Inc. For anyone who is not familiar with what we do, AED is a private nonprofit membership association with a mission to recruit new companies to the Albuquerque metro area and to assist local companies with expansion, generating jobs and opportunities for Albuquerque area residents. So our team of economic developers provide confidential site selection assistance to companies, and we work in concert with our partners at the city, the county, and the state to win job creation projects for our community. And so while we might be most well known for recruiting new companies, I want to make sure that everyone on the call understands that we have a team of skilled professionals dedicated entirely to assisting local companies with expansion. So our existing business development program has helped hundreds of Albuquerque area companies over the last 20 years with everything from accessing capital to connecting with incentives to business consulting services. And because of financial support from the city of Albuquerque, AED is able to offer this to you at no charge. Businesses in Albuquerque metro area. And well, coronavirus has been the ultimate disruptor. It's changing the way we work, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we plan, or don't. We know it's an uncomfortable time to be running a business, and the rules of engagement are changing daily, frequently. And we hope that today's program will provide you with insight about important programs, resources, tools that are available to help you run your business with confidence while we navigate the changing work landscape. And before we get started, there is a special gentleman on the call today. I put him on the spot this morning. For those of you who don't know the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric Weinstein. By day, Eric is Executive Vice President of Aon here in New Mexico, and lucky for us, he also happens to be chair of AED's board. So welcome, Eric. Are you there? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm having a little technical issue, so hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Certainly proud to be chair of AED this year. And I mean that of all years. I do think we'll look back in 2030 and realize that this year was the year that we banded together, helped each other, and not only survived, but honestly set into motion a stronger and more resilient an economic base that helped us grow, succeed, and have the kind of thriving economy that we know and we always knew was possible in Albuquerque. So, as Emery mentioned at AED, we're a mission-driven, not-for-profit organization, and our purpose is to actively recruit new businesses, but also support existing businesses that will contribute to our area's economic growth, development, and diversification, thereby providing jobs to New Mexicans and improving their standard of living. So I think this forum today is just another AED effort designed to connect the dots for our existing businesses aligned perfectly with our mission and our purpose. So thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, AED, City of Albuquerque, and all our speakers that are with us today. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Now it is my honor to get to introduce to everyone Miss Cynthia Jaramillo, who is the Director of Economic Development for the City of Albuquerque. Cynthia is the first female to serve in this capacity for the city, where she oversees the recruitment and retention of business, international trade, small business advocacy, as well as the city's film and tourism industries. Prior to this role, she spent nearly 2 decades with the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, raising millions of dollars for our community and championing entrepreneurship here. She's an incredible leader who has accomplished so much for Albuquerque businesses that we do not have enough time to even read her full bio. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you for that, Anne-Marie. Great intro. It is my honor to welcome all the participants today to a timely webinar, Getting Back to Work by AED. What a great topic. The City of Albuquerque Economic Development Department is proud to serve as today's sponsor. And thank you to AED again for putting on this event. Now, over the last several months, our worlds, as you mentioned, Anne-Marie, have been disrupted. We have had to figure out how to work from home, how to still continue to conduct business, how to support our local businesses, how to stay in touch with one another, how to stay in touch with our loved ones while being socially distant. But within that disruption, we have seen innovation, adaptation, collaboration, and most of all, we've seen resiliency. From all of this, we will return not to normal, but what everybody is saying now, we will return to a new normal. One that embraces technology at a new level, one that gives business as usual an entirely new meaning. Now, there is no question about it. The effects of COVID-19 have had major impacts on businesses of all types and sizes. It has disrupted what once was a thriving and growing economy in Albuquerque, and these effects will be long-lasting. At the City of Albuquerque, we have maintained our support for the business community throughout the pandemic. We have answered hundreds of phone calls, hundreds of emails. We've jumped on numerous Zoom meetings. We have put together a business resource guide that is continually maintained and updated. We shared information as it became available. We stepped up to provide 150 businesses with capital grants, funding in increments of $5,000 to try to keep the smallest and most vulnerable businesses afloat. Now, we are glad to see businesses opening back up, but we know that folks must continue to adhere to the public health orders and COVID-safe best practices in order to continue through the phased reopening of the economy. We know there is still a long road ahead of us, and the City of Albuquerque is here to support businesses of all types and of all sizes. And we are working hard on an economic recovery strategy, which includes focusing on and building on strengths and opportunities, such as Albuquerque being the perfect place for remote workers, reshoring opportunities with our foreign trade zone, and bringing back those who left for the big city, and or welcoming those who are now looking for a mid-sized city to live in instead. There's a great lineup of speakers today, and before I turn it back over to Anne Marie, I want to leave you with some contact information for my office. Slide, please. The Economic Development Department is here to support the business community in any way we can. Again, thank you and enjoy this webinar.
Cynthia, thank you so much for your partnership in our day-to-day roles with economic development, for everything that you and your team are doing to help our local companies navigate this very interesting time, and then certainly for your financial support of our existing business development program, which makes it possible for us to help all of these local companies in need. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we get into talking to our speakers today, just a couple of housekeeping items. After every speaker, we will have a few minutes for Q&A. If you have a question, please put it in the chat box to the right of the screen, and our team will moderate that and make sure we get your questions answered for you. If for some reason you're not able to ask a question that you have during this program, there will be time at the end of the program as well for some Q&A, and then our team will be available to you after the fact to help you with questions, and we'll make sure that we share contact information with you for our team and also for our speakers. So next, we get to introduce our first speaker today, a man that you probably recognize, Mr. Bill McCamley, who is Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Workforce Solutions. Secretary McCamley was a Las Cruces area state representative from 2012 through 2018. And during his tenure, he was chairman of the House Labor and Economic Development Committee, where he oversaw progress in job creation activities like wage theft and increasing the minimum wage. He's been a statewide leader in job creation activities like workforce training, border trade, and the legalization of cannabis. A graduate of both Mayfield High School and New Mexico State University, Secretary McCamley also graduated from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, where he has a master's degree in public policy. And born in Korea and the son of a U.S. Army service member, Secretary McCamley has served as a Doña Ana County Commissioner and as Executive Director of the New Mexico Rural Development Council, where he's worked with small communities across the state on job creation, education, and housing projects. So welcome, Secretary McCamley. We are thrilled to have you today. Thank you for your time and your expertise this morning.
Good morning, Anne Marie. It's one of those webinar things, so I just want to check. Can you hear me okay? Is everything all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. So good morning to everybody on this webinar. Very, very much appreciate you all taking the time and effort needed to learn more about some of the guidelines and other issues we're looking at here in New Mexico as we try to do a better job opening up the economy. You know, Governor Lujan Grisham has been extremely forthright and truthful in saying that the transmission of the virus will determine how we move forward as a state in terms of opening back up. And I think you're seeing in some of the other states around the region and the country right now, as people have opened up, not as conservatively, you're starting to see spikes in cases. And the more people that get cases, unfortunately, the more people are dying. And so it's really, really important that as this pandemic continues, that we do everything we can to, yes, open up the economy, yes, make sure that people are working, but moving forward, doing it in a safe manner. So I have a little slideshow, and there we go. So if we can go to the first slide, the first thing I kind of want to talk about is who are the state agencies that you might be dealing with in this effort to reopen the economy safely and conservatively. The first one is going to be the most direct agency, and that's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration in New Mexico. OSHA is under the Environment Department, and their job is to enforce workplace safety, and in this case, also health regulations and the specific health regulations that have been brought together by a lot of these other folks on this list. Secondly, this Department of Health, they are the ones that were in charge of really leading the discussion about guiding these standards and the reasons why each thing needs to happen. Obviously, our shop, the Department of Workforce Solutions, we do a lot of workforce training and placement. I'll talk about that a little later. We also are in charge of the unemployment office for the state. And just a little update on that. For the last 4 weeks, we've had about 153,000 New Mexicans, or we had about 153,000 certifications for unemployment in New Mexico. That's not quite an accurate representation of all the individuals on unemployment, as some people are still doing back dates for previous weeks, but it's becoming more accurate as people get into the system. And we've had that number about 4 straight weeks in a row. To give you a comparison, in the middle of March, so the week of March 9th, we had about 9,600 certifications. So we've multiplied about 15 times. Last Monday, we hit the $1 billion mark in terms of dollars distributed both from our state unemployment fund and the federal government to New Mexicans to help them get through this pandemic as safe as they possibly can. Obviously, the Department of Economic Development is critical in your relationship with Albuquerque Economic Development. Together, it's your job to not only recruit businesses to our state and to Albuquerque and give people the job resources they need to do well as families and in communities, but it's also important that, as you said, to guide businesses that are here and figure out ways we can expand them. And then the Small Business Development Council has been really working as a partner with us pretty closely in helping to provide assistance to businesses who need to plan, find loans available to them and what kind of financing options are available, and help with training. And so those are the 5 organizations that roughly at the state we're imagining are going to be most critical to this effort. Next slide, please. Right, and so as we look and we see statewide, what are going to be the requirements for employers moving forward? The first thing is, if you can still have people work from home, please do that as much as you can. I know a lot of employers out there are really finding there's actually some benefits to allowing their folks to work from home. And the more we can do that, the more we can stop people from getting out of their house, the more likely we are to continue to flatten the curve and limit the spread of COVID-19. Social distancing is absolutely critical. And if you look at some of the businesses around the state, they've done an excellent job in kind of shutting down common areas where people congregate. You're talking about break rooms, foyers, sometimes even outside lunch areas, though outside is a little bit better. And making sure that you've got that 6-foot distancing in places where folks do have to congregate together. The best example of that we can think of is going to be the grocery stores that have done mostly a really good job in putting those tape markings on the floor when you're in checkout lines, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. And some of them have even put in one-way arrows for all of their aisles to make sure that they're stopping people from going past each other as much as possible in the aisles. Those sorts of things are really important. As you said, remote meetings whenever possible. So if you can have meetings on forums like this rather than bringing everyone together to a room. I know sometimes it can be a little bit more inefficient to do that, but we want to stop the spread here. So as much as you can do that, please do. This is a biggie, ensuring that all employees have face masks and wear them with the exception of eating, drinking, exercising, or for medical needs. Now, for the last one, we've started getting people that say, hey, look, I've got asthma. And that becomes an issue in terms of accommodation, according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that's something I can talk about if people have some questions on it. But that's really one of the responsibilities of the employer. Please, please, please have people wear face masks as much as possible. I know this has become kind of a political issue. It shouldn't be. It's a small sacrifice that we can all make to limit the spread to other people. And as we all heard by now, face masks aren't about even protecting us as people. It's protecting the people that we're around. This thing travels by water droplets in the air, and the more you're breathing into a mask, the less that you are putting this virus in the air through the water droplets in your breath. So please have your folks wear masks. The last 2 things, make sure everyone knows how to do the hand washing, make sure that they've got, know how to cough into their elbows, all that etiquette and disinfecting protocol. And you got to make sure hand washing and hand sanitizer is available for your employees, excuse me. Next slide, please. Right, so please make sure that if people are coming into your place of work, if your employees are coming in, and they show some of these following symptoms, send them home. If they've got a high fever, if they've got a regular cough, they've got chills and muscle pain, look, it's not good to have them in your place of work. And you can click on this website to make sure that you have the information needed to get free testing through the Department of Health. It's available statewide. We want to make sure people get tested, because as we find folks that are positive for COVID-19, we can then do what we call contact tracing, which is isolate those folks, ask them to quarantine for 14 days, and then really do a good job researching all the people that are around them who may have gotten infected, and then quarantine them. As we do that, and as you see places around the world that have done a good job of slowing and sometimes even eliminating the spread of COVID-19, that's the strategy they imply. So if you have folks coming in with these symptoms, please send them home. Please ask them to get tested. Next slide, please. Okay, and so here's some of the recommendations. These are not obviously the requirements. These are more some of the advice pieces that our folks here, as well as some of the employers that have been on our committees to put together for following those real requirements. You know, make sure you have a communication plan with forums, because you're going to have employees asking all sorts of detailed questions. We're getting a lot of them ourselves. Try to make that communication flow good. Try to have a team leader, or a safe practices team, or a leader, someone who can kind of help coordinate this process within your workplace, and that they'll become, by trial and error, kind of the expert on this in your workplace. Making sure that some of your vulnerable workers, and I'll be talking more about that later, but as an example, anybody that's over the age of 65, we're considering vulnerable. Can you find a way to get those folks into a place where they're not going to be as exposed to maybe other members of your staff or customers coming in, that sort of thing? Try to find ways of having them be productive, but not in an exposed way. I noticed a lot of gyms are actually doing this next one, which is really, really good, which is if there's a way for you to maintain a log for at least 4 weeks of everyone kind of coming in, that will allow the Department of Health, if they ever have to do a contact trace strategy with anyone that's come into your shop, to know who they might have been exposed to, test them, and make sure they're quarantined if they've been exposed. And if you can, over the next few months, really look at your HVAC systems and making sure you've got filters up, that the system is working properly. That is going to be another thing that might help moving forward in terms of slowing the spread. Next slide, please. So those are some of the general things we talked about moving forward. This website, the one that is on your presentation right now, is a fairly long one, and it's got 2 to 3 page specific recommendations for each of these areas of the economy moving forward. And that's really important, right? Because if you're in a youth program, if you're in a summer camp and you open back up, it's going to be a heck of a lot different than you are if you're in a meat processing plant or a salsa facility. So we really encourage all the businesses and the folks watching this to go to this website and look up the specific economic area they're in to get really, really drilled down, detailed advice on how you can slow the spread in your own industry. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to take too long for these next 3 or 4 slides, but I really want to go over this because there's been some confusion about unemployment versus folks that are asked to stay home because they are quarantining, or they have to stay home because they've got some kind of situation where they've got to take care of someone who's quarantining, or they've got to take care of a child because childcare may not be available. So the Families First Coronavirus Act was passed in the middle of March of this last year. And it includes a sick leave and paid family leave provision that allows people, as you read this slide right here, to be able to get some help if they're sick. And so we've had people come to us and say, hey, look, I've applied for unemployment because I'm quarantining. That's not the proper way that should go. Your employer, so some of you folks on here, if you have folks, are going to be eligible and legally entitled to 2 weeks of paid sick leave and a little bit longer family leave according to this law. If you go to the next slide, you'll actually see an additional documentation of the folks that are going to need to be on that, and you can kind of read through this. If you go to the bottom, you'll be able to look up from the Department of Labor a really good description of what this sick and family leave policy is, and who is going to be eligible and how it kind of runs. And if you'll go to the next slide, this is going to be an important one too. It documents how you get paid back. The federal government is going to pay for this. They're doing it through a tax credit strategy. And if you click on that IRS link, you'll be able to see as an employer how to get your money back when you document the fact that, employee X had to go take 2 weeks off and get paid sick leave because they were asked to quarantine by their medical provider because they came in contact with someone else, that sort of thing. If we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see a detailed list of folks that are that have some medical issues and probably shouldn't be going back to work. Now, before I go into this list specifically, I want to make sure y'all understand that for unemployment in the nation as a whole, you are usually only qualified for unemployment if you are involuntarily let go from your employer. So in regular times, you can't just quit a job and say, I'm going for unemployment. The unemployment system was designed for folks who were laid off for no fault of their own. Now, there's an exception to that, and there's another one that I'll talk about a little later for the self-employed. But in order for you to leave a job and be qualified for unemployment, you have to show good cause. It's a legal term, and it means that you were abused at work, your workplace safety conditions were such that you would be harmed being there, that sort of thing. As we go into the COVID situation, the Department of Workforce Solutions will consider good cause to take effect if an employer can show that if an employee can show that their employer didn't take the necessary precautions to make their workplace safe. If you didn't have anyone wear masks, if you weren't social distancing, all those sorts of things. Furthermore, there are people with pre-existing health conditions, and this list in front of you comes from the New Mexico Department of Health that shows those things. So if you're 65 or older and you want to get unemployment, we're going to let you because anyone in that 65 or older category is going to be at a high risk, not only for exposure to COVID, but a lot more serious health conditions if they get it. And then everywhere else on the list, if you can provide documentation from a medical provider that you've got severe asthma or you've got another lung disease, you've had heart conditions in the back, you've got diabetes, you have AIDS, any of those issues that compromise your immune system, and your doctor says this person really shouldn't be at work, they shouldn't be exposing themselves right now, we're going to consider that if someone decides, hey, I don't want to go back to work or I leave my job. Once again, we're taking this on a case-by-case basis, but if people have this, have any of these conditions, then that is what we're going to be looking at to determine good cause. Furthermore, we're encouraging employers to really say, hey, look, if people are in this situation and you kind of know it, use some discretion on your part for coming back to work. Next slide, please. And this is a discussion about that good cause. If you are bringing employees back, let's say you furloughed them for a few months, and yet you're opening back up, you need people coming back to your restaurant, you need people coming back to your retail shop, whatever, you can actually report people who refuse to come back to work. And there's a form right there that you can fill out on our website, and there's directions on how to do that. And you basically, we need to know a couple things. We need to know who they are, what their contact information is, and we need to know that you're offering them the same type of work at roughly the same hours that they were being asked to perform before they were furloughed. So if someone's working 40 hours a week beforehand and you want to bring them back 10 hours a week and they say, I'm not coming back for that, that's something that we can probably look at as good cause because it's not coming back to a similar type of job. But if you're offering someone full-time employment back at the exact same type of pay that they had before doing the same thing, they should take that job. And once again, we put some examples up here. Good cause we are not going to consider if your only reason for not coming back to work is I'm making more unemployment than I am on my job. That's not going to be good enough, right? Or it can't just be a general, hey, I'm scared of the whole situation. That's not going to be good enough either. However, if you do have pre-existing health conditions and you've got a medical note to prove it, if you have some pictures from your employer and, hey, no one's wearing masks. I was at a tire shop this last weekend and no one was wearing masks. And I told the guy, what's going on? He said, well, it's too hot. We don't really deal with that. Any of those people that want to leave and can document it, chances are good that we'll probably be allowing them to get unemployment moving forward. If you'll go to the next slide, the overall message we want to play here is that, look, there's a joint responsibility here. Employees should be going back if they're getting similar opportunities, they don't have pre-existing medical conditions, and they are capable of going back to work. Employers, though, should work with employees that have some issues to try to be as flexible as possible, and need to make very, very sure that they have a safe working environment. And let's be real honest, that's not just good for your employees and your workers, that's also good for your community reputation, because people aren't going to want to come into your shop if they don't feel safe. And so we want to make sure people feel safe. And that's really what we're talking about in terms of joint responsibility. So the next couple slides are just a couple of resources for employers. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And if you want to look at PPE, this is the New Mexico Association of Commerce and Industry has put together kind of an alliance for employers who are looking to try to help get some of these supplies they're going to need to follow these health guidelines. And if you look at the next one down, you'll be able to see that there's an emergency supply collaborative that's also been put together. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, by New Mexico Tech University. And each of these folks is doing the best they can to work with employers to provide masks, sanitizer, gloves, those sorts of things. So there's at least a couple of different options you can go to. And I know Jason Espinosa is going to be looking later in this program to do a presentation. I think he might have some more resources as well. Last couple of slides, and I'll move quickly through here. We are the Workforce Solutions Department. We do unemployment, but we're not just the unemployment shop. And it's our job to really help people get back to work. We are going to be, our goal is to institute work search requirements for unemployment, to put those back into effect the week of July 18th. And so we need to find employers that need people right away. So the first thing I want to talk about is our All Hands project. We just put a presser out on that last week. We were trying to spread the word on this. If you're an employer that needs people right away, if you can go to this website, fill out a little form, our business outreach folks in our 17 regional offices around the state will go through the workers we have in our system with our resumes and try to get you people that match up to your jobs. And that can help you hopefully interview people that are already going to be at least somewhat qualified skill-wise for your areas, and hopefully get you people back to work. We also do the rest of the things that are going down the list. And so if you need help with virtual hiring, we can help work on specific training needs that you might have as employers. All those issues, we are here to help. We want to help. It's our job to get people back to work as fast as we can in a safe way. And we have these resources to be able to do that. Last slide here is to go to some of our local partners. Here in Albuquerque, your folks are going to be the Central Workforce Board, and our Workforce Connection office here in Albuquerque is down on Mountain Road. Now, we're not open yet, and we're still kind of seeing how the Motor Vehicles Division is working in terms of opening up to the general public, and we'll probably be opening up soon based on the best practices there on an appointment basis. But we do have people whose job it is to work with you, to help you find employers and to help you find employees and to get these workers that are going to be looking back to work. I would also point out that Economic Development's really working closely with us. They've got regional offices around the state. I'm sure AED works with them pretty specifically, and the SBDCs are available as well. Last thing before I take questions is working on 2-year programs. A lot of times you may want to hire someone and they may not have the skill set necessary to fit your need. We'd really like to work with you and maybe help do partnerships with the local 2-year colleges, obviously here in Albuquerque, that's mostly going to be C&M, to develop the skill pathways that will allow people to stay in jobs long term. 98% of the jobs that have been created in the United States since the Great Recession require more than a high school degree. Now, sometimes you don't need a bachelor's degree. You can get a nursing degree, you can get a certificate in welding or commercial driving, that sort of thing. But we really want to make sure that we're here to help get that career pipeline. And that's good for you as an employer as you get the skilled workforce you need to grow and thrive. It's also good for the folks looking for work. So if you go to the next slide, that is my presentation. And I would be happy to take any questions anybody's got. And if I can't answer them, I will do my best to find answers and get them back to you. Does that work okay?
Yes, sir. Bill, thank you so much for your time. And Beverly on our team is fielding questions from the live comment box on the right, and then also questions that we're receiving via email. Welcome, Beverly. For anybody who doesn't know Beverly, she is our Vice President of Operations at AED.
Thanks, Anne Marie. Good morning. Thank you for that presentation, Secretary McCamley. We do have a few questions that have come in. So the first one, with regard to ensuring that all employees have face masks and that they're wearing them except for eating, drinking, exercising, or if they have medical needs. The question is that applicable to employees who have their own offices or just when employees are around others?
Yeah, I think that's going to be up to each individual employer. The way we're doing it here in Workforce Solutions, and that's a good question, is if you're in your specific area, your workplace, you can take the mask off, especially if it's a closed environment. As soon as you go into a public area, that's when we're asking people to really wear masks. And I think that's generally going to be a good, safe kind of precaution moving forward, that if you're interacting with other people, if you're not interacting with other people, hey, you can take the mask off. But if you're in any kind of situation where you're in a customer environment, you've got a front desk foyer where people are coming into your office, if you're a accounting firm or a law office, things like that, wear the masks.
Great, thank you. Our next question. With all the uncertainty and things seemingly changing on a daily basis, how likely or possible is it that the federal increase in unemployment for individuals will be extended beyond?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that one before we started this. The answer is we don't know. And so let me just talk about this real quick. As part of the CARES Act, which was passed 2 weeks after the Families First Act, there is an additional $600 benefit that is tacked on to the end of every weekly benefit amount that people get when they're on unemployment. And that's really critical for a lot of folks because they need to be able to make ends meet. And a lot of times, if I'm only going to make $250 a week on unemployment, that's not good. And so that ends, the people will be able to get their last benefit the last week of July. And so starting in August, that's not going to be available at all. There has been a lot of discussion at the congressional level about what to do about that. The Democrats want to extend that for a long period of time. They actually passed a bill called the HEROES Act 2 or 3 weeks ago that extends that out. Obviously, that's kind of that's not realistic, I don't think, in terms of that specific provision being put in for that long, but it's their first negotiating position. And obviously some of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, have been kind of not favoring that. They are discussing kind of how to come up with some kind of compromise on this. And that can go from extending the $600 longer. It can go to getting rid of it completely and not doing anything moving forward. It could take the picture of some kind of middle ground. They could do $300 or $400 a week and then, ratchet it down over time. They are trying to get cute a little bit, and some people are discussing some kind of individual calculated amount for every individual. We are not for that at all. The amount of workload that would put on our staff is insane, and the how you communicate that to people would be really hard to do. So our advocacy is for whatever they do, just to keep it simple. That would allow us to extend it further. I just wanted to give a small briefing on that. At the end of the day, we don't know. They don't even know. They're pretty far apart still. But we're hoping they get their act together sooner rather than later, because the less lead time they have to do whatever, the harder it is for us to implement.
Yeah. Good insight and good information. Thank you. Another question we have is, if employees refuse to come back despite good COVID safe practices by the employer, what can the employer do? What are their available options?
Yeah, so if y'all go back to slide 11, is that possible? Anyway, on the presentation I just gave you, slide 11 has a form, a PDF form that you can actually fill out and send to our office. And if you offer people to come back, and it is, at a good working condition place, they don't have a medical condition, and they're being basically offered the same job they had before with the same pay, you should report it to us. Yeah, there we go. And so if you go to that website, you'll be able to actually go in, and it's a printable PDF form. If you fill out that information, you can send that into our office, and our investigators will take a look. And if folks say, hey, look, I'm just not coming back because I'm scared, or I want vacation, or I'm making more money on unemployment than I am at the job, then they could be cut off from unemployment if that's their only reason.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That was our final question. So thank you for that additional insight, and really appreciate the information today.
Very much appreciate the forum. Thank you guys for the opportunity, and hope everyone's keeping their head up out there.
Thank you, Secretary McCamley. To you and your team, we know that you're working long hours and you're staying on top of things for the rest of us, and we certainly appreciate that. And all
can I actually throw one more thing out before I go? The last 3 months here have been a whirlwind. Everybody's working overtime. Everyone's working as hard as they possibly can to take as many people as possible. You know, we're just asking for people, if you're an employer, you call in to work with our office. We're just asking for people to have some patience, to have some compassion, and to treat everyone with dignity. You know, our folks are trying to do that with everybody. We've gotten a few ornery folks. We had our first threat of violence a couple of weeks ago. Luckily, that was an isolated event. We know people are frustrated. We know people are angry. We know that this is not easy for anybody. But if we could just kind of keep our heads on straight and really approach any situation, and that includes calls to our folks or communications with our folks, if we could ask those 3 things, we'll give the same to you, and we'll get through this better together. So thank you.
Before you get off the call, can you remind people how to get in touch with your office?
Yeah. So I probably should have put that on the thing. So the best way to get in touch with our office is through our call center. That's mostly through that's mostly for job seekers and and employees, though. However, if you're a business and you do have questions, we encourage you to go to our website. If you go to dws.state.nm.us, there's actually a whole series of FAQs, a bunch of information for businesses, and it includes a guidance document that has a lot of this information that I put on there. You'll also find the best way to contact our office if you have any questions. But we really encourage you to look through the website first. A lot of times you can get the answer you need from an FAQ without having to be on hold for a while. But yeah, that's where the first place to go is. And if you can't get the information there, there's phone numbers and emails there for you to be able to contact our office, okay?
Great. We put the link in the chat for anybody who is looking at that. And Bill, I know we told you we were done. Can we get one more question to you before we actually let you go?
You bet.
One of our attendees is asking, will employer unemployment insurance payments go up next year to refill the coffers?
Very good question, Mr. Abendal. So what just happened, the answer is no. Now, I want to take a minute here because this is something we're going to be explaining. This is a long answer. The way that unemployment works, and many of you know this, is you all as employers pay payroll taxes into a big trust fund. And so when people apply for unemployment, the money generally comes out of that fund. That does not include the extra $600 that's, you know, for COVID, or the self-employed folks that don't put any money into that fund. But the regular standard unemployment, that's the way it works. The way the tax system is set up for that is the lower the fund goes and the more people that you let go or furlough over the last 3 years, the more you pay in taxes, both because if the fund goes low, we need more money in it. And if you let more people go, more people are on the system, they're draining the fund more. So it's done on a variable basis, and every single employer has a different tax rate based on a calculation on those variables. I hope I'm making sense here because this is really complicated. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. The problem we would have had next year is there would have been about 10,000 businesses that would have seen their tax rates go up significantly, some almost double, both because they let go of a bunch of folks over the last 3 years as a three-year look back, and because the amount of money in the fund is low, and it's going to probably go away by September or so. And what does that mean going forward? The legislature in the last session that happened last week did pass a temporary freeze on your taxes for the next year. So it will freeze the reserve ratio, which is the equation we get from the health of the fund at last year's level, right? So that'll stay just like it was last year. And it will hold you harmless for any folks, any of your workers you let go from, I think it's March 1st all the way through June 30th of next year. So those two things will combine to keep your tax rates low over the next year. Now, where's the problem in that? At some point, we got to find a way to start raising the money to start replenishing that fund. It's going to go away, and we're going to have to borrow money from the federal government in order to meet our unemployment needs. And that's something every state's pretty much going to have to do. I think California and Texas and Connecticut, a bunch of states have already started the borrowing process. We'll do that in the fall. And at some point, we're going to have to pay that back. Now, we'll have a year of frozen taxes, but if we don't start changing our tax rates at the state level, the federal government has the option to start raising their unemployment payroll taxes called FUTA, Federal Unemployment Tax Act taxes, right? And right now you pay almost nothing for that. I think it's 0.6%. But after a couple of years, if we don't start raising our own tax rates or doing something to put skin in the game to pay back the loans we're going to get from the federal government, they'll start incrementally raising their taxes. So the answer to your question, I know that's a long answer to your question, but I just want everyone to know that we're putting a working group together. For this next year, we're good. Everybody's in a good spot. It's nice and certain what's going to happen. But starting, next summer, a year from now, we're going to have to really take a look at what's going on and understand our long-term obligations here so that we don't harm folks in terms of big-time tax rates at the federal level going down the road.
Understood. Well, thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate you, and good luck with
Thank you, ma'am.
You have on your plate. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Association management experience in our state, leading to statewide business associations. Jason received national recognition for membership growth and retention from the Association of State Chamber Professionals. Some of his current clients include the New Mexico Society of Association Executives, the New Mexico Technology Council, and others. So welcome, Jason.
Thank you for having me, Anne-Marie. Happy to be here.
Great. We'll get your presentation going here for you.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, can we actually take down the screen and then we'll go to my share screen? Sorry about that. So thanks for having me here today, and thanks for the introduction, Anne-Marie. So today I'm really here in my capacity as Executive Director with the New Mexico Society of Association Executives. And we're a membership organization that represents over 70 trade associations or professional societies here in New Mexico. We work with their executive directors in terms of building capacity in their associations to create a bigger return on investment for their memberships in the business community. So today I'm going to talk about New Mexico Safe Certified, which is an industry-led initiative to really train, educate, and then market businesses that are following COVID safe practices. So if we could actually bring up the share screen, and then I'll walk people through the program. Thank you. So New Mexico Safe Certified, as I said. So what New Mexico Safe Certified is, again, it's an industry-led program. One of the big things that we wanted to do as businesses are entering this new regulatory period, we wanted businesses to know they're not alone in navigating the new environment. And then on the flip side, we wanted customers to know that they can feel confident about entering businesses in a COVID positive world. So really it's a two-pronged strategy there. You know, Secretary McCamley went through some of the bullet points regarding the altogether New Mexico COVID safe practices for employers and individuals. And one of the things that we've talked about when we've met with businesses and worked with our association members is that, it's tough reading a 52-page document, and the document continues to grow as more businesses open up, more CSPs, the COVID safe practices are released. So one of the things that we really wanted to do as an industry is create a training program that makes the COVID safe practices more consumable, easier to understand, and really to create a training program that not only you as the business owner, but also your employees can utilize, so that we're ensuring that everyone in the workplace understands what the COVID safe practices are. So I'm going to walk people really through the program. So we launched this program last week on Monday, and we've already had over 670 businesses register for the training. We've actually had 312 hotels, 144 retail businesses, 131 restaurants, 48 tour operators, and 42 spas and salons. So originally, this program was launched with seed funding from the New Mexico Tourism Department, who is really understanding and wanted to make an investment in training the hospitality industry in the COVID safe practices, as well as building consumer confidence. So last week, the program did launch with these 6 industries: hotels, lodging, restaurants, golf courses, tour operators, retail, spa and salons. We're continuing to add more modules, and actually happy to announce to this audience that we actually just did launch this morning our offices module. So as you guys may or may not know, under the COVID safe practices, as Secretary McCamley was talking about, all employers have their, every employer has to follow the all employer COVID safe practices, and that there are industry specific ones. So our training program will walk folks through the all employer and then the appropriate specific industry category COVID safe practices that they will need to follow. And one of the things too, just so you know, so all of this program that we've done, given the grant funding from the New Mexico Tourism Department, we're able to offer all of this training for free. And they're video-based trainings. I'm going to go through the program and walk through it, and then we can answer some questions at the end as well. So this is the page where if folks want to get registered for training, they can do that. Again, just reiterating, these are free on-demand trainings. So this will allow you to sign up your business, and then you can add employees. One of the things that we're asking employers to do is, you don't need to necessarily train all your employees down the line in your business in the COVID safe practices to become New Mexico Safe certified. But what we are asking employers to do is to train their appropriate management staff and supervisory staff to ensure that all departments or management staff understand the practices. For larger businesses, what we're also happy to offer, because these are video-based trainings, that I'll specifically say with some of the hotels that we've been working with that own multiple properties, they're ensuring that all their staff or their management staff is trained, but they've also asked, hey, can we integrate these videos into our all staff training and our orientations? So what we're happy to do is share the videos links with the company so that they can integrate it into staff orientations as well to educate folks. So again, this is where you go to get certified. I'm going to go through some of the benefits. Well, actually, I'll talk a little bit about it now. One of the big things that we want out of this program, and I know working with our partners in different associations as well as the tourism department, is how do we create a brand, is to create a brand, a visible brand that unifies the state across the industries, that businesses are taking the time to educate themselves about the COVID safe practices. A lot of research has been done regarding consumer confidence and the need to rebuild it as the economy reopens. And one of the most important things is a business marketing what they are doing to keep customers and employees safe as they reopen their business. So really, and I'll talk about, and I'll go through our business toolkit that businesses have access to. And part of that is really a marketing campaign around a unified brand. One of the other things too for tourism-related businesses, the New Mexico Tourism Department is giving tourism-related businesses up to a $2,000 digital media package credit with New Mexico Magazine that folks are able to take advantage of as well. One of the things that we've also had, if you don't see your industry that's listed on the 7 modules that we currently have, we are working on developing more. So if you don't see yours, but you're interested in us creating one and would like to be notified, you can scroll down to here and let us know you're interested. And once that module is released, we will send you an email to let you know you can register. One of the things that we're in the midst of right now, we're really in our B2B business campaign right now of really working with our partners, which I know some of them are on the call, of associations, of local chambers, of economic development organizations, and destination marketing organizations, of really educating businesses about the program. As soon as we hit a good threshold of businesses that have completed the training, then we're going to focus on a business to consumer campaign to really build that brand, tell people to look for it, window clings in their doors, other marketing materials. And then we'll release a directory as well of all the COVID safe or New Mexico safe certified businesses. Real quick, just want to thank some of the partners in the program. So New Mexico Society of Association Execs as the lead, along with the tourism department. And then a lot of these organizations have been great in terms of being our marketing partners throughout the state. If you're with an organization or a membership organization, you'd like to be a partner in this program, send me an email and we'd love to get in contact. But we really appreciate folks partnering with us, and we really credit to the first week of over 670 businesses to our partners. I'm going to quickly just go through one of the training modules. So once you apply to the program, for example, I'm going to go back here and say you apply as a hotel lodging. One of the things that we ask folks to do is register as your primary business. So if you click on the hotels, it'll take you to an application. We have built in their questions saying, hey, you own a hotel. Do you also operate tours? Do you offer food service or have a restaurant? And other questions. And based on those responses, what we do on the back end, myself and my team, is then we assign you the appropriate courses. So we'll assign you, hotels will get all employers, they'll get the hotels and lodging and retail. That's just a base requirement for hotels. But if you have a restaurant, then we'll also add a restaurant training onto you. So just fill out the application once, and based on the questions, we can assign you the appropriate courses. So once you apply, we approve your application, give you the courses. What you do is you'll get an email which will give you access to this is our training portal right here. For many of the folks in the business world, really what we've created here is akin to corporate training for your employees. So what I'm going to do, so this is the training screen. Up here you have a start certification, so that'll take you to the actual trainings. For folks too, and I'm just walking everyone through this, if you're the primary account and you want to add employees, so you need to add your management staff, you can create their accounts here or send them email invites. They'll receive an invite saying that, you've sent them an invitation to log into this training portal. They'll create their account. We'll assign them the appropriate courses as well. I'm going to share this video. We just had a welcome video in here for folks. This one is a little bit hospitality focused, but I think it's relevant for all the industries. The video may lag a little bit, but the audio is the important part. So let me get back to it. I'm going to play this for a little bit.
The unprecedented public health emergency caused by the novel coronavirus has created tremendous challenges for all New Mexicans. It will be up to all New Mexico businesses working together to make the coming months successful by learning how to safely operate in a COVID-positive world. Workplaces will be transformed and on-premise work tightly restricted to minimize in-person interactions and reduce the risk of transmission. In mid-April, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham reached out to 15 business and labor leaders from different industries around the state to form an economic recovery council to provide guidance and advice on how to safely reopen New Mexico for business and recreation. The council worked closely with the governor's medical advisory team and with subcommittees composed of representatives from about 24 industries. The practices laid out in the governor's Altogether New Mexico COVID Safe Practices for Individuals and Employers manual are the result of that council's work. It is important to remember that the state's emergency public health order mandates compliance with the COVID Safe Practices outlined in the document. The hospitality industry has shown great determination and leadership in the face of the extraordinary hardship caused by COVID-19. As the economy reopens, we are asking for your help to ensure all New Mexicans, your customers, employees, and families take precautions to remain safe when entering a place of business. Please help us set the highest standards for living with COVID-19 by enacting the COVID Safe Practice requirements and additional best practices and becoming New Mexico Safe Certified. If we all do our part and abide by this new way of living and doing business, we'll be able to move the hospitality industry forward safely together.
So that's our welcome video there, and really outlining what we're trying to accomplish in terms of moving the economy, moving all industries across New Mexico forward in terms of adopting these to the highest standard. So I'm going to go quickly just through some of the modules so folks know what to expect in the program. So again, you can hit start certification. I have all my windows open so we don't have any internet issues. It'll take you to here's your online training. We will pre-enroll you in the appropriate courses depending on your application. So for right now, this is just impersonating me as a test account. I've been assigned in all employers COVID safe practices, the restaurant COVID safe practices, retail, and then our newest one that we just launched, office and call centers COVID safe practices. So all an individual needs to do is, click on all employers. Again, I just have my screens open here so we don't have anything. It'll take you to this screen. And we really did try to make it easy for folks. So if folks, read the descriptions here, welcome to all employers training course. Below, you'll find a list of all the required videos. Watch each video, then return to this list and mark it as completed. You must watch the videos in order that they appear in the list. Then after you've reviewed all the required videos, we do include a quiz because we do want to ensure fidelity that people are actually watching the videos, educating themselves about the COVID safe practices. So I'm going to just show one example of the video, and I will tell you these videos, they're not long. They're range from probably, I think there's some as short as 30 seconds and the longest one's probably 6 minutes. So they're really, again, we tried to make them bite-sized and consumable so that employees and managers could complete the course and educate them about it. So going to this screen, so this is the video just regarding social distancing. And one of the things too, and I always do want to give a shout out to the tourism department whose marketing team really helped us create some of the video segments here as well. So I'm going to share this to give you a sense. This one's a 52-second video on the importance of social distancing and some of the requirements around it.
In order to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, which is spread by respiratory droplets, one should avoid circumstances where you're going to be in close quarters with other people. This can help to achieve social distancing, which will assist with slowing the spread of the epidemic and take care of every customer and employee. The COVID safe practices require all employers to do the following to support social distancing efforts. Limit operations to remote work to the greatest extent possible. The workplace should be arranged to provide 6 feet of distance between individuals wherever possible. Close common areas where personnel are likely to congregate wherever possible, or modify them to minimize contact. Provide for all meetings to take place remotely whenever possible.
And so they're really quick videos. So there's, just talking about these, but again, we really wanted to focus on, emulating a corporate sort of training module that was accessible to employees rather than reading a lengthy 50+ page document. So for the all employers one, which everyone is required to take, it'll talk about social distancing, proper hand washing technique, proper face mask usage, respiratory etiquette, employee health screening, daily cleaning and sanitation. And one of the things too, and I'll compliment the New Mexico Department of Health on this, they actually, as we developed the scripts on how to properly wash hands, how to properly wear a face mask, because there is a technique to that, the Department of Health actually reviewed all the scripts and approved them, because we did want to make sure that we were telling people how to do things appropriately. We took a lot of the CDC guidance as well as the Department of Health, and they did approve the scripts. So we really appreciate them doing that as well. So moving into here, once someone finishes the module, so this is the office and call center one, I watched the video, able to complete that assignment. Again, the quizzes, so you're just going to go here down to your quiz. It'll take you, please take the short quiz to demonstrate your understanding of the CSPs. You must get all the answers correct. This is really quick. It's 5 to 7 questions. It looks like this one's actually 4 questions. Folks need to be able to answer what, these are. So true or false, the office is open to the public, must follow all CSPs for retail establishments. What should be done to workstations? True or false on visitors and gloves? So it really just, again, is a fidelity tool for us to make sure that folks are actually sitting down and watching the videos. So upon completion, going back to this screen, we just ask people to help us facilitate sort of a prompt review of program completion, because we do try to audit everyone's progress nightly. But if you can send us an email after your team members have all completed the program, notify us, then we can get you a completion email out. And again, upon completion, what you'll do is you'll get an email notifying you that your business has become New Mexico Safe Certified, and then you actually gain access to this backend website. So this page is actually password protected. We'll send you the password once you become Safe Certified. The first thing on here that we really think is one of the most important things here is the marketing resources. So one of the things, again, it's about building consumer confidence. And what I'm going to share this story. We actually had El Sombrero restaurant up in Las Vegas, New Mexico, complete the program. We sent them access to this page. They did a great social media post about with their seal, and I'll tell you, the seal is different than what you see up here, because this has COVID safe training program. It says something else. But they did a great social media post talking about how they became New Mexico Safe Certified, how they really prioritize the health and safety of their employees as well as their guests that come in to dine at their restaurant. There was a lot of great interaction, but one of the comments that I saw from someone basically said, "Hey, this is really terrific. I've been really nervous about going out and going to restaurants, and I'm not sure I'm completely there, but knowing that El Sombrero did this really builds my confidence, and I'm really thinking about now being comfortable to go into restaurants." And that's one of the things that we really do want to build, is that consumer confidence, because as you all know, you can't just turn on the light switch and everything's going back to normal. We need to build back consumer confidence by demonstrating businesses' commitment to following and educating themselves about the COVID safe practices. So we do, on this website here, give everyone access to it. If you have a marketing team, we give you access to all the files in here. So if folks want to use it on banners, if they want to integrate it into other marketing materials, we also are giving folks the decal that they can put on their storefront window to also signify it. But look at marketing materials, website, social media, email signatures, packaging, business cards, whatever you want. Feel free to utilize that training once folks become certified. They're happy to do that. Also can add yourself to the directory that I talked about on the front end, and then we provide ability to take advantage of a digital advertising credit from the New Mexico magazine that I talked about. Additionally, one of the things that we did do is we worked with legal counsel to create some of these files. We understand, small businesses may need some help. So we did create some sample health questionnaires to use as employees come back. We encourage people to use these as samples. Again, work with your own legal counsel to make sure that they're revised to fit your need. We also did some liability waivers, as well as guest check-in packets. This is more applicable to hotels, which part of the CSP requirement is a guest check-in packet to let consumers or visitors know what the COVID safe practices are. Then we also, again, and I know other folks have done this, but we just wanted, again, here's all this, here's additional resources for all the employers regarding sanitation, disinfectants, etc. For your specific one, I just noticed we'll get up here the office one since we just launched this. Additionally, again, because we started with tourism related businesses and restaurants, both the Restaurant Association and the Hospitality Association have said, even if folks aren't members of their organization, but complete the program, I know both of them are holding sort of statewide peer learning groups, because the education, as you know, doesn't end with just taking a program, educating yourself about them, but it's really going to take building a peer learning group to share best practices, troubleshoot challenges, and continue talking. One of the other things too that I'll put out here is an important, as we all know, the COVID safe practices are going to evolve. And so one of the things that we've worked out and that we are going to be doing is, as participants take the CSPs, we will update the videos as needed based on the changes with the COVID safe practices document, as well as the public health order. And we'll also be able to send an email blast out to those specific businesses that have become New Mexico Safe certified to say, hey, FYI, this one specific thing in your restaurant CSP has changed. Please be aware of that, and then we'll update the videos. But we are going to make sure to keep everyone in the loop based on what those specific changes are, so that they can adapt to the need. Let's see. We can go ahead and do some questions now, if you guys like, and I can walk through some more of the program, but happy to take any questions at this point as well.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
This time? I don't know how much of the intro that we missed because my audio is out. I apologize for that, but I just want to reiterate that Jason, if you didn't know him before, lucky you, now you do, but Jason is co-owner of KW Consulting, which is a full-service firm specializing in management consulting, public policy development, and government affairs. Jason, thank you so much for your work on this. It is really valuable for employers, and we certainly appreciate you. There is one question that has rolled in.
Okay.
And welcome back, Beverly Cruz with AED. She is fielding our questions from our audience today.
Great. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Beverly.
So the question has been posed with regard to additional modules. Will you be rolling out a module for manufacturers?
Yeah, our intention is to roll out modules for the additional CSPs that come out. So we just rolled out the office module today. We're working on, I know, the ag and food processing, because we got a lot of interest from those folks. I know manufacturing is high on our list, so we'll also get working on that. And our hope really is, I'm looking at today's 6/25, we'll get those out probably, hopefully within the next week and a half, in terms of the content there. So we do appreciate it. And I know, yeah, so and if there's, please do go to the nmsafecertified.org and fill out that interested form, because that really helps my team keep tabs of, hey, who's interested in the program, what industries are interested, so that we make sure to prioritize those modules of the industries that are really wanting to participate in the program.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of questions that have come in outside of the chat. So the first one is with regard for an estimation on the time investment that a business might expect to endure as it goes through the certification process. So this person says, well, there are many different factors like number of employees who will be trained in a specific industry. Can you give any sense for the amount of time a business will need to invest before it becomes certified?
Yeah, certainly. So one of our goals again was to not create a huge barrier. We want people educated, and again, going back, and those videos are pretty short, in between of some are 30 seconds, some are 6 minutes, depending on what your industry is. And I'll tell you, hotels are usually the longest, because hotels have to do all employers, retail, hotel. If they have a restaurant, a tour operator. We're looking at, honestly, the hotel folks are only taking them little over an hour to complete. Most of the other modules that are going to be really short are going to be half an hour for someone to complete. And one of the things that we've seen actually from businesses is they're incentivizing their employees to take it. We had one business actually say, hey, for my employees that are able to complete this by midnight, I'm going to give them a bonus, because I want them to do this program. I want them to complete it and be informed. So again, it's not terribly long. It's watching the videos. It's about, I'll say on average, probably half an hour to 45 minutes per individual to get through the training, depending on, if they sit through it all at once, which we're seeing most people do.
Awesome, great. So the next question is with regard to the template documents. And this person is asking if you can provide some information on how you guys created those templates, and maybe the best practices or the sources that you utilized, that you mirrored.
Yeah, certainly. Specifically, I'll talk about the liability waiver for customers. That one actually is specifically designed for tour operators, because under their CSP, they're actually required to update their liability waivers to talk about the procedures that they're taking, and also to ensure that customers are following the COVID safe practices as well, to keep everyone, themselves, as well as fellow guests and employees, safe. So we actually, a lot of the tour operators that we collaborated with sent us documents that they've created in other states. And then I know our legal counsel that worked with us looked, nationwide at some of the sources that they looked at, and really compiled what they thought a best fit here in New Mexico. And then additionally, the same process with the health questionnaire, looking first using the COVID safe practice guidelines as a base, and then looking at other states in terms of what they're doing, or other businesses are doing in other states, and then compiling the best. And then one thing that I just note again is, we compiled these template documents. You should still, talk with your own legal counsel that you have, to make sure that it fits within your own policies, within your business environment as well.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. That was it for us in terms of questions. We really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks.
To remind everybody on the call, if you do have questions after the fact, again, our team is available to answer those. And I just want to do an audio check again, make sure everybody can hear and see. Well, our final speaker this morning, or after, it is still morning, is Miss Joanna Nelson, who is the Strategic Program Development Coordinator for the New Mexico Economic Development Department. Okay, good. Everybody can hear us. Good. Hi, Joanna. So
Hi,
Joanna,
good morning.
Good morning. Joanna is a certified economic developer through the International Economic Development Council, and she recently completed a fellowship with the Council of Development Finance Authority. She holds an MBA in Organizational Development and a Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Technology and Design. In her spare time, if that is even possible, she operates her own small business. So welcome, Joanna, and thank you to you and your team at the State Economic Development Department for moving quickly and getting everything in line for our businesses these last few months. So we'll turn it over to you now for your presentation.
All right. Thank you, Anne-Marie. And I love your guitars in the background, by the way. Do you play the guitar?
Not well.
Okay.
Oh,
great. That's will be on the next webinar. You can provide some entertainment.
Hopefully.
All right, it's great to be with you all here this morning. And as Anne-Marie mentioned, I do have a small business on the side, and I apologize about the background because this is my only quiet room in my house, and it happens to be my business storeroom, which is not the most aesthetically pleasing. Just so you know. But I am with the Economic Development Department. We serve under Cabinet Secretary Alicia J. Keys and Deputy Secretary John Clark. And I wanted to provide a bit of overview about what we have been doing in response to COVID-19 and give you a little bit insight into recovery efforts, about what's coming, and as well just make sure you're aware of other resources that are out there. That's the goal, is that you can really be connected and aware of the resources that are out there. And I do want to mention there is another webinar going on that I have right now. So if my computer crashes, I'm sorry about that. And I hope my audio is okay. But so I'll go ahead and get started. And you can see this first slide. This is, we wanted to provide a slide that gives you an overview of our specific financial programs that EDD created in direct response to providing COVID-19 relief for small businesses. And so we got these out really quickly, I think within the first week of restrictions put into place. So the first one that I wanted to mention was the COVID-19 Business Loan Guarantee Program. This is a program that is not a loan per se that we are giving out through the department, but we are guaranteeing commercial loans. So when there's a business that needs to get a loan during these uncertain times, some of the banks need to be or have been a little bit more conservative. So they want to have limit their risk and have more collateral or more security. So what happens is that we can guarantee up to 80% of the principal, or up to $50,000 of that principal. So that ends up being a loan of about $62,000, $62,500. And if we're doing our max, we can guarantee $50,000 of that. So far, we've done about $1.8 million in guarantees and over $2 million in loans to businesses all over the state, and have really just been really happy with the partnerships that we've been able to create and see and build upon with our lenders all across the state. So this program still is active. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. We also have our Local Economic Development Act program, and through this program, we're able to do 0% interest loans. And still, because we are bound by constitutional restrictions, it still has to only go to qualified entities. So you still have to be a manufacturer. You still have to be generating at least 50% of your revenue from out of state. And the uses for this loan program are still limited as well for expenditures of land, building, and infrastructure. But the key thing to point out in this situation is the funds can be used for lease abatement or mortgage assistance. So if you are one of these qualified entities, let's talk about it and discuss it and see if this program fits with your needs, because it can be a really great opportunity for you. We also created the Buy for Tomorrow Today website. This is a website that enables businesses who have experienced a decrease in their revenue and cash flows to list their business on this website, and customers are able to engage and interact with them by purchasing gift cards that creates a little bit of cash flow for the businesses. So if you're a customer, please go to this site and consider buying a gift card. If you're a business and haven't already, we've had over 600 businesses list their business on this website. Go ahead and list your business on this site. We also have been providing webinars very frequently. In fact, one is going on right now that hope to educate and bring awareness as well as discussion to resources that are out there. Very frequently at the get-go of this health pandemic, we were providing webinars twice a week, and now it's about weekly. But you can go to our YouTube channel. That's where we're listing all previous webinars. You can access all of that information. Our most recent one, we had SBA and SBDC on, and they were talking about the recent updates to PPP and EIDL. And you can see those webinars any time that you would like. But our upcoming one is next week, and I'm really excited about it. We have Economic Innovation Group, otherwise known as EIG, and they were one of the original authors of the Opportunity Zone program. And helped create the OZ program. And they'll be on talking about recent updates to that program and mentioning trends that they have seen across the country using opportunity zones as a recovery tool. So that'll be July 2nd. You can register at that link. So hope to see you there. And I do want to take a brief second to mention, I brought up our last webinar that we had with SBA and SBDC about the Paycheck Protection Program and the EIDL. That deadline for PPP is coming up on June 30th. Hopefully you already know that. Hopefully you've already applied to that. But please help get the word out. If you know businesses that could benefit from that program, now's the time to apply because it's quickly coming to an end. So just want to mention that. Okay, next slide, please. These are additional programs that I wanted to highlight that are coming through the state, and Secretary McCamley did a great job at just kind of highlighting them. And I'm gonna go into just a little bit of detail. The State Investment Council does have the New Mexico Recovery Fund. This is a fund of $100 million that is for kind of the smaller, mid-ish size companies that have over 40 employees. Then you can access this loan program through Sun Mountain Capital, which is actually based in Albuquerque, and you can apply to this program through them. So we also have the Small Business Investment Council, and they have been working with their partners to get really low cost, low interest loans out to small businesses. And we're really seeing an uptick in demand for these products as businesses go through the PPP and need additional capital. So these are still available. They invested $25 million into these programs, and that is the Loan Fund, Dream Spring, Lift Fund, and HomeWise. So connect with them if that sounds like a viable opportunity for your business. Also, NMFA, New Mexico Finance Authority, they have their Essential Services Working Capital Program. This, as well as a very, very low interest rate, and is available to healthcare and critical service providers. And you can access these loans through NMFA. Next slide. Also, I did want to highlight something that is pretty exciting, and this will be coming online July 1st, but this is coming through the Early Childhood Department at the state, and this is called the Child Care Stabilization and Recovery Grants. We all are very well aware that in order to have a successful economic recovery, we need to have good child care, and a lot of the child care facilities we have seen have really been struggling and been trying to figure out how to best reopen in a safe way, and they've experienced losses to their revenue just like all the other businesses. So this is a grant that is available to all child care facilities in the state that are certified by CYFD. And as mentioned, it'll be coming online July 1st. And the grants are as low as $2,000 and go up to $34,500. So if you want to apply for this, or if you know a child care facility, they can go to ECECD. That's the acronym of the Early Childhood Department. Okay, great. Next slide, please. These are links that you can find more information from our website. That's the first link. We do provide updates there, as well as other pertinent information. As I mentioned, our weekly resource wrap up. This is, I think I mentioned that. And speaking of childcare needs, I think my child was coming in. But so we have a weekly resource wrap up, and this is a newsletter that we're putting out every Friday that is providing information about grants, loans, any resources that are pertinent to COVID-19 relief and recovery. And you can also find webinars. You can find any information about that. So if you're not already getting those, you can sign up at this link. We are doing a pretty good job at posting information on our social media channels, and here you can find those: Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Okay, next slide, please. I wanted to give a little bit of insight into what's coming down the pipe. These are recovery efforts. It's been really exciting and really positive that we are seeing more and more new projects, meaning that businesses are wanting to expand or businesses are wanting to locate here. So this is great news, and just want to throw these out there for folks to make sure that you keep these in your mind as we move into a recovery phase. We do have our collateral assistance program. This is very much like our guarantee program, but is able to provide collateral to new projects or expansion projects if there's a gap in collateral. And this is where we work with a bank. We do have our business finance finder. We'll be improving this and really launching this in the next couple of months. This is where businesses can submit their summary of their project online. I'm a restaurant, I'm looking for $100,000. And then we send that inquiry out to our lender and organizations list, and they follow up with the businesses if it's relevant. As well, our regional finance fairs. This is where we bring all regional lenders and business service providers into one space. We were doing this in person, but we will be shifting to an online platform. We had a really successful one in Albuquerque, I think in February. And so our next one will be in the southern part of the state. So stay tuned for that. Also, LEDA, JTIP, obviously those programs are available for recovery efforts. I do want to mention our Office of Science and Technology, our Office of International Trade, our Outdoor Division, and Film are available to specifically help in these areas to move businesses forward. We have our Rural Efficient Business Program, not so much applicable to Albuquerque. We do have a statewide comprehensive economic development strategy that will be coming online. We'll be doing a statewide plan that will address recovery efforts, and we will be more than likely hiring a disaster recovery coordinator to specifically work with regions all over the state, as well as our Council of Governments, to focus on providing disaster recovery. And I wanted to highlight Senate Bill 3 that was recently passed in the special session. This was the loan program that is using $500 million to go to small businesses as well as communities. And this program will allow up to $75,000 to small businesses, and this will be going through NMFA, New Mexico Finance Authority. So that'll be coming online hopefully soon. And I should have mentioned this is all pending on the governor's signature to sign it into law. So just a heads up on that. That's a really exciting program. Okay, next slide. And as I mentioned, we have EIG coming on next week to do a discussion and a webinar on opportunity zones. Opportunity zones are really being looked at as a unique and hopeful recovery tool. So want to just make sure everyone is aware of NewMexicoOpportunity.com. This is our New Mexico Opportunity Zone portal. This is where you can find information and submit an Opportunity Zone project. You can check check an address to see if a specific location is in an opportunity zone, and stay up to date. You can also sign up for the Opportunity Zone newsletter, where we push out pretty regularly any updates or upcoming events. So check that out if you are not already aware of that. So next slide. I wanted to go a little bit into detail about some of the other resources that are out there. That was focusing on EDD's efforts and some of our state partners. So obviously, during the health crisis, we have been getting hundreds of calls from businesses all over the state looking for capital. And one of the first questions is, are there grants available? And so I did put this slide up, and I hope you can see it. It's pretty small, but this shows kind of the capital landscape where you can see the different tools that are out there, going all the way from bonds all the way up to grants. And this is coming from an economic development perspective. So it's looking at, in terms of cost to public agencies. What does it cost to do a bond versus a grant? And obviously grants are more expensive for organizations to put out. But hopefully this gives a little bit of perspective into you have your traditional capital, which incorporates debt, going to banks, credit unions. It includes equity. And then you have your alternative sources of capital like CDFIs, factoring, crowdfunding, seed funds, grants, that type of thing. So this is just kind of giving a bird's eye view of what's out there. So next slide, please. It's important for businesses to understand, yes, there are grants out there. There are really fantastic opportunities to provide relief right now, but it's really important to kind of go through the steps to see what is it that you actually need for your business. So it's important to analyze what are your needs, understand your goals, also identify the amount that you need, what's the purpose of your cost and your expenses, and connect and find an organization which shares your mission, because that is something that we have really seen and seen a trend out there. That there are funding opportunities out there, but you really need to connect with that mission. So maybe we've seen grants come from the bar association, meaning that bars and restaurants. There's a national organization that created a grant program. Salons, gyms. So really make sure you're clear with your mission, and I'm sure you can find an organization that shares that mission. Assess if you have unique business traits. What is your competitive niche? This has really been important as you can kind of navigate grant sources out there. And then return. What is the payback? Do you need to be creating jobs? Do you need to be doing something in return? So all of these steps, these 5 different steps, can kind of help prepare you and help you figure out where you fit in and what can be the most applicable resource that's out there for you. Okay, next slide. I'm going to go through these really quickly. I've just got a few more slides. I wanted to put up just a hodgepodge of resources that are out there. These are focusing on grants and looking at the federal side of things as well as the state. This by no means is comprehensive or the final list, but just want to put these out there and hope that you recognize that we can be a really good platform and partner in exploring all of these resources that are out there and navigating them. Oftentimes, a lot of these opportunities come through our department, so we've got a pretty good overview and a pretty good understanding of what's available. But let's see, going through these, I think most people are familiar with these. The Economic Development Administration, the EDA, that's the 4th one on the federal side. They just put out their NOFO. their competitive grant process for projects and using money from the CARES Act. So we've seen a lot of inquiries come in through this. So if you do have an organization that is assisting with job creation or any type of innovation in economic development this can be a great opportunity. International trade through SBA has grants available. Science and tech, SBIR's tech transfer, and renewable energy has grant funding available. On the state side, obviously through our department, LEDA, JTIP, Office of Science and Technology, IT, International Trade, as well as Department of Finance Administration, they can provide community development block grants. Department of Environment has brownfields. New Mexico Department of Tourism has New Mexico True. Very quickly, we're going over these. So if you have any questions, we can talk offline about these. So next slide. The whole idea is hopefully you know that there are opportunities out there. As well, there are our external partners that are offering grants, and Albuquerque has been doing such a great job through the local government and some of the Albuquerque Community Foundation of offering grants to its location. So it's really been exciting seeing everyone step up and provide help out there to small businesses. So outside of that, the Federal Home Loan Bank, P&M, New Mexico Gas, these are the big ones that hopefully you know have programs out there to help small businesses. And then opportunity zones, if you need technical assistance, there are grants around those too. I did want to put some links to some fantastic organizations that can help you search for grants. Grants.gov, 24 Small Business Grants. This is a link that you can go to. The Grants Collective, which is located right there in Albuquerque, are amazing. You can connect with them, and they'll help connect you to resources. And then on our website, we have the New Mexico resource map. That's that little image that you see, and you can kind of click through using this branch logic. If you're a business, you can highlight grants or loans, and then it's going to pull up opportunities there. So you can use that as a tool, and then Grow It New Mexico is a great resource as well. So next slide. These are other opportunities. I think this is the last slide. Just really want to highlight the important work that the philanthropic impact investors are doing to provide economic development support as well as community development support. So we have some really great representation from the national foundations in New Mexico, including McCune, Lohr, Kellogg, New Mexico Community Foundation Association. This is where the community foundations come together and work together. And they have been offering really great opportunities as well. One really key organization is the Association of Grant Makers, and you can go to their website, and they've been doing a great job at keeping all of the grants and financial opportunities compiled on their website. So you can go to their website and check that out. Conventional lenders have Community Reinvestment Act requirements that they have to make investments into low income or underserved areas. So we have seen some really great funding success stories come out of CRA requirements. And if you have questions about that, reach out to us. And then obviously there's the non-cash opportunities that can really be a great recovery opportunity. And that's the New Mexico Small Business Assistance Program, NMSBA, that is through MEP and can connect you with the 2 national labs that we have in our state to provide really great one-on-one customized help on any problems that you have within your business around efficiency or anything, engineering or product design. NMSU has the pollution prevention program that if you want to look at energy efficiency in your business, help lower your energy costs, they can do an energy assessment for free. And then of course, technical assistance providers, I think everyone knows these already, SBDC, SCORE, West, the Loan Fund, can all provide you with consulting right now. And we're seeing that that's more important than ever, to have a sounding board and have a consultant that can be an advocate for you. So here's another list of links. I did list our business finance finder. You can go to DFA. They have a catalog of financial assistance that includes loans and grants. IEDC, which is a National Economic Development Council, they have a newsletter that they put out that highlights grants every week. I think our collateral assistance program, you can use that link. So next slide, please. Trying to go through these really quickly. Okay, and here's our contact. I think this is my final slide. Here's our website. You can find a regional rep and go to our YouTube channel. And so I did want to close and just want to highlight, I know I'm going through these quickly and just throwing a lot of links out at you, but the whole purpose is to know that I think at this time it's more important than ever for businesses to understand that they really need to be aware of the huge network of support and resources that are out there. This is not a time to be quiet. It's a time to reach out for help. You can reach out to us. As mentioned, we do have a pretty good statewide perspective. We have a lot of partners. AED is one of them, and they've been doing such a great job, but that we can connect you with. So let's talk. Let's set up a time to figure out what resources could be the best fit for you as you move into this recovery phase. So I think that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Joanna. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I hope that you see in the live comments here that someone said they want to thank you specifically for all that you're doing, that when this all began, you returned a phone call immediately, and your assistance is obviously very appreciated. So do we have any questions? Sorry about that.
Call anytime.
Do we have any questions for Joanna today? And welcome back, Beverly Cruz, who is with AED.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks, Joanna. We really appreciate your participation today.
Thank you all.
So the first, just a comment and a question. So over these last 3.5 or so months, the New Mexico Economic Development Department has done a tremendous job communicating all the resources through the various webinars and other communications that you mentioned earlier. How can people get on that list so they can stay up to date on all the things that you all are communicating? What's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So we have a newsletter that we have a sign up on our homepage, and I did provide the link in those slides. I think it's on that last slide that was just up, but if you go to our homepage, goinm.biz, scroll down to the bottom of the page and it says sign up for our newsletter, that's where you can be connected. So you'll get all of the press releases coming out of the department, as well as you'll get that comprehensive resource wrap up that comes out every Friday. That'll have all of the opportunities coming out about COVID-19 relief.
Okay, great, thank you. And the second question is related. Clearly, there are a tremendous number of resources available and places where people can go to find out what relief and other financial resources and other things that may be available to them. But for those who may see all of the things available, may get overwhelmed or really not know what the first step is, do you have a recommendation as the first step, the first call, the first email? Where should that go? And is there somebody available who will be able to help navigate them through the process?
Sure. And I just want to highlight that it is overwhelming, and I hope I didn't overwhelm too many people, but the whole purpose of sharing all those links is that you know that there is a lot of help out there. As AD knows as well, we get over inundated a lot of times, especially as all of these things have come online so quickly. But first step, feel free you can email me, it's spelled like johanna.nelson@state.nm. Reach out to me. We can get you to the right person within our department. As I mentioned, we have regional reps all over the state. So the regional rep for Albuquerque, his name is Max Gruner. And oftentimes I could just shoot him an email. We kind of play tag team like that. And someone on our staff can kind of help navigate and direct you to the right resource. So whether that's SBDC, CNM, all of the acronyms, we can help provide that guidance. So reach out anytime. And we have been working around the clock. So answering emails, answering calls, you will get a response.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work and all of your efforts. It is a lot, and it's wonderful to know that there are so many resources available for businesses.
All right. Thank you. And thank you so much for all you all are doing.
Thank you, Joanna.
That was the last question. So I will toss it back to you, Anne-Marie.
All right, great. We might actually end a little early today, which I'm sure will make everybody excited. But before we do that, one thing that I want to remind you about is AED has an incredible existing business development team. Wendy Ederer, Bob Walton, and Dennis Houston, between the three of them, they have years and years of experience doing everything from standing up manufacturing facilities around the world to serving as CFO of companies to creating state and local programs and resources. They hear it all, they see it all, and if they can't directly answer your questions, they can certainly walk with you through what your individual questions might be. If you want to connect with our team, go to abq.org. All of our email addresses and phone numbers are located right there on our website. Our team is, again, free to you as local employers. So please know that you can access that at no cost to you and your business. And that is made possible by the city of Albuquerque, who supports our team in that way. But they are just phenomenal people, and they'll try and take what is, so difficult about the various resources and help you walk through it specifically. And as you learned today, there are so many people in Albuquerque, in New Mexico, who are working really, really hard to help. We're here to help you. We want to help you. We know that you're busy working in your business, so we want to be available to you to help you work on your business when you need to. If there is a specific challenge that you are facing, more than likely there is somebody here who can help you address that quickly. And so, again, we are glad and grateful to have you here in New Mexico. Thank you for running your business in Albuquerque and in our state. Thank you for doing everything that you are doing to keep your staff and your customers safe. And we know that you're working really, really hard, so we're here to support you. We want to give a special thank you again to the city of Albuquerque for sponsoring this webinar today. Cynthia Jaramillo, the city's economic development director, had to drop off the call, but she wanted to let you know that if you have any questions for the city or anything you heard about their resources today, just let us know and we'll make sure you connect with the right thing and the right people. Thank you to Cabinet Secretary Bill McCamley, to Jason Espinosa, and to Joanna Nelson for speaking today to our audience. Thank you to you, our members of AED, who make it possible for us to achieve our mission of business expansion and job creation here. So we hope that you will leave today feeling a little inspired about what is available to you to help you navigate the current environment. And as things change, again, we will be here to help you every step of the way. So we appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and best of luck to you. We look forward to seeing you in person soon. Thank you for attending today.